We are continuing again with Rav Leib Tropper, and the subject today, continuing on our Daas Torah series, is the meaning of suffering, which is obviously a very broad subject and has been discussed very often. How do we understand Daas Torah's approach to the meaning of suffering?
I don't know anyone who really has an answer. I mean, people have suggestions, people have shittas, theories and principles and ideas, but I don't think that this is beyond the things that's called Hanestares Lashem Aleikenu, that's hidden in the hands of God, and the Eibishter Kadosh Baruch Hu Shtabach Shemo La'ad chooses, does, and God's ways and not our ways, and God's the Prophet tells us his thinking is not our thinking, but we do have some suggestions. The Gemara, in numerous places in Shas, talks about the concept of Yisurin. Brachas, it talks about asking Rabbi Eliezer when he was suffering, Chavivin Alecha Yisurin, do you like Yisurin? Because it has certain value to it. He says, Lo hein v'lo yischaram, not them and not their reward. Nobody wants to suffer Yisurim. There's a spin of depression and other kinds of mind-altering things that happen, and emotional-altering things that happen when one suffers so much Yisurim. The depression that you suffer alone, forget about the physical, which is something that's beyond people to accept. It's hard to imagine people living with Yisurim. I think that the Torah would consider like depression a certain lack. I mean, I must say that the Baal Tanya, if I'm not mistaken, from the Alter Rebbe's Chayin L'Rochas, Chosei Yogan Aleinu, considered not a clinical depression, but depression, not clinical, as something which is a lack of emunah in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, Katani Amona. I mean, who do you think you deserve to have X, Y, and Z? Why do you think you deserve to have X, Y, and Z? So it's a problem of emunah, gaiva, maybe, perhaps. I mean, then there's an expression of which I mentioned to you this morning. I think, parents, like Kikigad l'havdil elaf alfi havdalos mikadosh l'chayil mitom l'tahar. He said he defined this depression as hysteria of the soul, of the neshama. It's like when a person goes into hysterics after he suffers so much, and after he's abused so much, and after he's whatever it may be, he goes into hysteria of the neshama. It feels like it's panicking. It doesn't know. It's like, and though it looks benign and passive, it's really, really turbulent. It's not being depressed is not a passive, static feeling. It's more of a it's a kind of aggressive feeling within the person. It's tumultuous. It's hysteria of the soul. That's what it is. So that's some of the results of Yisurim. The Gemara says something fascinating in the Gemara Brachos in the first parak. The Gemara says Yisurim memarkin v'neisa shel adam. Yisurim sanitizes the sins of man. From a kalvach, we derive that from a kal v'chayma, from a efor sheyori, from Eved, a servant working for a Jew, enslaved, was indentured by a Jew. So the halacha is that if the master knocks out his teeth, one aver hurts one limb, automatically the servant is free. So the Gemara says, Ma shein, if a master knocks out a tooth, the servant goes right away, he's freed. He's not indentured anymore. Ma shein, if shein, which is only one of a person's many, many limbs in his body, not even a whole limb, if that's abused and he's hurt and is knocked out, he goes free. Yisurim, that's in the whole body of the person. His whole body is enveloped in these Yisurim. Kal v'chaymer, how much more so is a person redeemed from his slavery and from his averis that he did and from all the bad things that he could have done. So, Ramei Shapiro Zecher Tzadik Levracha, Rosh Yeshiva of Lublin, asks the question. He quotes a Rishon, he quotes Rav Haigoin, and he says, Shalu, they asked Rav Haigoin, What happens if the Eved, who's claiming that a limb was broken, his arm was broken, or or it is a fact that the arm is broken, his tooth is broken, doesn't claim that the master did it. Doesn't even know the master did it. He thinks maybe it happened by itself. It was a loose tooth and it fell out, or whatever it may be. Does he then go out free of his being indentured? Is that what happens? So he said no. It's only if the servant makes a claim against the master. Says, why did you do this to me? You knocked out my tooth. You broke my arm. You broke my foot. Why did you do that? So it's only if there's a complete cognizance that the Yisurim, that the pain and the affliction and the removal of a limb of a person's body is done by the Eibishter, the Over Rachamon, then the Yisurim Amamarek really sanitize the person, and it's an automatic kapara. But if he doesn't recognize, if he thinks that his cold comes from he didn't wear a sweater yesterday, or he feels that his toothache comes from the fact that he didn't brush his teeth in the last 2 months, or he thinks that his whatever it may be comes from some natural cause, or not natural cause, but not the Rebbeinu Shalom, that is not memarek. That does not sanitize the person from his haveris that he has. We need to focus our life. We talk about the Averis, that Mamaruk sanitize the sins. Chazon Ish writes in the Igris Chazon Ish, I think I may have sent it in one of the emails of Yad Torah, that the pinnacle of achievement for a Jew in this world, that he never hurt anybody, never embarrassed anybody during their existence in this world, during their life in this world, a man or a woman. Never. I don't want to sound like a critic. I want to sound like there's hope. But there is a paucity of the pursuit of absolute virtue. We have virtues that we do because it's worth it for us. It pays off. We have virtue that's there because it's accommodating for us. Kindness can be accommodating. I love people to say I'm kind. I'll be able to move ahead in life, and that's where it shouldn't go. Not about going ahead in life, it's going ahead in Olam Haba, where the souls really enjoy all that they did in this world. Yes, it can, and you're allowed to enjoy being a nice person. There's no prohibition in enjoying, but if that's the exclusive kavanah of your being nice, pursuing virtue, is that you should be enjoying the reputation of a nice fellow, enjoying the reputation of somebody who's kind. I'm not going to say it's sinful, but it's definitely not the one that Hashem wants from us.
Calculated kindness,
right? The one with an agenda, right? The kindness with an agenda that can't be pure, can't be organic, that needs other supplementary things to be, to motivate us to be kind. The lack of kindness and the lack of hearing the words and the echoes of the words of the Chazon Ish about the greatest achievement in a person's life is not to hurt anybody. And the adverse to that is that we hurt people. We just let our mouth to go out of control. There's no controls on our mouth. And sinner comes from kina. As the Chavetz Chaim writes in Ahavas Yisrael, most of the time hatred is born out of jealousy. And what happens is that we end up with this drive to instigate hatred against an individual, against a body of people. Lashon hara. Abuse, verbal abuse in any way, foments hatred, and it is very pervasive. It's adopted in all environments, unfortunately. From, not from. We sound like it's a victory when I have the last word to say in an argument. There's some people have like a predilection or a penchant for this kind of thing. It's just a reflex that we adopted from the world. That I'm Salim Tzchus, Arba Bagoyim says in Tehillim. David HaMelech says we mix, mingle around the world, and we see the newspapers all over on corners and like stands of newspapers, like one page after the other, just full of gossip and destruction of other people.
Calumny, as they call it.
That's right. I was just going to have to say that. Calumny, calumnus. All those things are embraced in a sense. Like it becomes like a badge of honor. Don't start up with him, because if you start up with him, you're finished. I wouldn't call that a badge of honor. But it sounds like people look at it, they adopted that kind of thing, It's not that he's going to say to you, and respond nicely to you and say, I'm not sure you meant to say that to me. He's going to hit you with a barrage of all kinds of opprobriums and all kinds of things that you never heard before in your life. Sometimes the things that people say to us are so hurtful and so painful that it lasts a lifetime. And the Borei Olam doesn't forget. Stipler writes in the letter, the world is not hefker, whether it takes 5 years or 10 years, if the person doesn't correct what he did. There's blood on his hands, and you'll have to pay the price for that blood on his hand. And it could be even, it says, Elokim Yavakesh Yeshan Nirdov. God defends the victim. Even if the one pursuing him is a tzaddik and he's the Russia. God, Elokim Yavakesh Yeshan Nirdov, Hilu tzaddik la Russia. And Nirdov is a Russia. The one who's being pursued is an evil person. I just want to just abbreviate and summarize just up to now what we did. We talked about Yisurim. The purpose is to sanitize the neshama. That's the first immediate purpose. Now, people can write books and bestsellers about it as well. Could be. But the Gemara does talk about, and conventional Yiddishkeit talks about Yisurim as an atonement, to cleanse the neshama, to wash the neshama in a way that really cleanses it to purity.
So would you actually extend it to say that in that sense a person should welcome Yisurim? Even though we said in the Gemara before.
No, the Lo Hein V'Lo Schar. I don't want that in Nisayon, because it's in Nisayon. The person could, God forbid, blaspheme against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chalila V'chas. It's very difficult. It is. So if we don't ask God for Yisurim, Chalila, we say that in davening at night even. I mean, except for the Abder Rebbe Zechron L'Bracha, we say, he wasn't, I ask, that you should forgive me, and you should, sleep at night, and keep it davening, we say it as well. Last thing we say, you should forgive me, and whatever sin you should never count against me, but not through Yisurim v'chaloyim roim. The Abder Rebbe Zechron L'Bracha was a great Rebbe, and he felt the concept of sin is so invasive in his life, and he felt like so terrible, so dirty from sin, that he would say, he wasn't shalech tarid. It should be the will of God. The Kadosh Baruch Hu should help me that I should never sin again. I should never rebel against you. And when I did sin against you, and when I did rebel against you, please erase those sins. Afilu! Not avaloi, but afilu al yidei Yisurim v'chaloyim rab. And even through Yisurim, sin is so distasteful, so much of an enigma to the soul, and so much of a kind of an adversary to the neshama. It's repulsed, and it's just impossible to neshama to coexist with it. That anything to clean my neshama. So I want to read you a sefer called Koil Boichem. Means the voice of one who's crying. It's written by Avram Galanti, who's a Talmid of Ramoshe Kudavira, the Talmid Dvara, Zechat Hadik L'Racha. Ramak. He writes something here. I don't think it's just for me to say it is good enough. I think I could say it, but I think that the benefit of it is you're hearing his words because of the words of the Heilige Ramak, Kodesh Kadoshim. He says, Margale bepume de Moirizal. It was common for my Rebbe to say, common for the Rizal. He's quoting the Ramak. And the Ramak says, Shehoya Omer, Shebakol Chuvas Sheba Olam Hama'ula. I'm sorry, Shebakol Chuvas Sheba Olam. All activities of repentance in life and all ways of having tshuva fulfilled in your life. Hama'ula Shebakulam, the most elevated of all and the best of all. To do what? Lamarik, to sanitize the chatois v'azidonis v'apshoim, the shogeg, all the shogeg, the mazid, the ones that you don't know about, to cleanse you completely from those things. He sevilas v'elbonis, to be able to tolerate embarrassment, v'achirufim, v'hagidufim, and the name calling and the verbal abuse. Malchus is higher than all Malchus that a person could get for 11, 10 11, 20 11. The Sigufe tiniest, fasting as much as you want, doesn't come close to that of Elbonis, Bush and Cherpa, that a person suffers from other people. Levad, if one will just inflict pain on himself, Yecholish, he'll come weak. He won't be able to learn. People can't be able to learn when they have, V'nikra choyte, he's considered a sinner. V'chein b'malkiyes chayotzi b'hem. Amnam. B'midazu toichal v'tishte v'tavoid v'avonis miskapen. It's true. All those things you do, these things mentioned above, malkiyes and miskapen. But through the suffering of albinus, public embarrassment, there's nothing that comes close to it because of purity of atonement. So, I guess that puts Yisurim somewhere, fits into a miniature box compared to the Yisurim of elboin, of embarrassment, public embarrassment, humiliation. We shouldn't daven for humiliation. We shouldn't pray for bejaynus. But the sign is too great for us. It's too impossible. I mean, how do we know that we can suffer? I mean, we see people, unfortunately, that just say, I'm out of here. I mean, they just can't handle Yiddishkeit with that. I'm such a good person. I guess I did something wrong, and I should have such embarrassment, humiliation. I should lose my life because of. And then they walk away and they throw away their I'm just saying, I would go to throw away the yarmulke and throw away the Yiddishkeit with the yarmulke. Because the Baruch Hu should help us, all of us. We should know the purpose of Yisurim is not to punish you in a way that you are rejected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No one kilo yidach mimenu nidach. No one is pushed away, cast away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love. His embrace is so big, so big. But he embraces your neshama more than he embraces you. Because your whole value is your neshama. Thank you very much.